I have a bunch of stuff going on. I'm legally blind. I'm on dialysis. I just got out of a wheelchair in like March. I was diagnosed with type 2, which in 1995 was like unheard of. It felt like something dropped inside of my eye. Like it felt like something was pushing on my eye, and it was like really dark in my eye, and I'm like, what? And the guy looked in my eye and he said, your retina is detached. But it wasn't until I went carnivore, like really strict, that I started noticing differences. My sleep apnea was better. Dialysis is way better. My blood sugar is way better. My blood pressure. My vision is actually better. There was a time where I started getting light perception in my left eye. Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Dave Gregory. I've been on and off carnivore since August of last year. And then I started noticing, because I'm on dialysis, and I was starting to, things were getting bad, and I'm like, let me go back to this. So I started binging carnivore content, like Bella, the steak and butter gal, Ken Berry, and I don't know how I ran into your page, but I think it might have been through either Stellar or Ken or Dr. Anthony. It was one of those people that I found you, and I was like, dude, this guy, his energy is good, man. There's something about the timbre in your voice, man, that's really welcoming and like sincere. So I was like, dude, this guy, he kind of sounds like me in terms of like the energy that I have towards how I want to get better. So I think that's how. And then you said, yeah, if you want to, reach out to me on Facebook, and I was like, yeah, let me go ahead and do it, and I did, and you responded, man. It was cool, man. We've been talking ever since, and it's been lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, your story, what you first told me, it sounds like you've had a lot of struggles, a lot of health issues, and you sounded like you were at a point where you were hopeless. You needed to do something sort of drastic. So that kind of really resonated with me. So maybe if we could start out, could you tell us a little bit about? It seems like a lot of people before starting carnivore, there's struggles, there's health issues, there's something that led them to it. What led you to carnivore diet?
So I grew up a Seventh-day Adventist. So I grew up as a vegetarian, and and I was always fat, and it never correlated to me like, hey, this is supposed to be a healthy diet, but I was eating nothing but like sugar, pretty much. That's pretty much what a vegetarian diet is all sugar. So I ended up getting diabetes type 2 at age 12 or 13, and and I think what really, and I tried a number of diets. I even did raw veganism for a while. I used to go to raw vegan potlucks in LA and stuff. I mean, I was really in it, but it wasn't until um, I was on dialysis and I was living in LA, and my buddy Dylan, he said, dude, because I had a Butcher Box subscription, and he was like, dude, man, you should just do carnivore with me. I'm like, what is that? He's like, it's just meat. It's like, and like vegetables. He's like, nah, man, just meat, man. He's like, you'll lose a ton of weight and you'll feel amazing. I'm like, dude, you're crazy. There's no way in the world I'm going to do it. I already feel guilty eating this meat, you know, and and it's weird because like I knew I was supposed to eat the meat, and I'll tell you about that. I'll tell you. Okay, I know. So um, I went to this doctor of Korean medicine in LA, and he has this pathology where he basically teaches you how to eat according to your body type. There's like the blood type, and then there's body type. There's 8 different body types. And he was like, so what are you eating? I was like, well, I was like, I'm vegan. Like I had that cockiness. Is like, I'm vegan. Like this morning I had quinoa and Brussels sprouts. And not, knowing that shit was just nasty. But sorry, I didn't mean to cuss. But like, I was just like, all right. He looked at my blood and he's like, dude, you're not a vegan. It's like, you are not supposed to be eating this stuff. he gave me a list of food. You know what was on top of that list, dude? Just throw a guess out there.
Oh man.
Just
I
throw a
don't know.
guess out there that was on top of the list.
That he was recommending you eat?
He said that that he recommended for me to eat. Yeah,
Um,
said I'm not supposed to be vegan.
not
So
supposed to
think
be.
opposite of that.
There's no way he said meat.
He said beef is the number one meat I need to be eating.
Wow, good guy.
And dude, Carrie, before then, I was struggling. I'm trying to say this in the most non-offensive way, but like in the morning time, guys, you know, I was struggling, and I bought a flank steak in that morning. It was like I was 13 again. I was like, what? It's like I needed this, so I made sure since then that I never like it. Literally, beef became medicine to me. Like I and it was crazy even to even say that, but that's what I just knew the way I felt. I was like, dude, I'm like on another level, and I was like, shy with the butter and everything. But I will say that last summer what really got me to do it was I started looking up Carnivore Diet, and I think it might have been either Dr. Ken or Stella, or there's another girl who has she has like a British accent, I think. I forgot her name, but she's within, and I just started watching more content, and I mean binging, and this was maybe 2 months after my dad died because he was like a hardcore vegetarian,
Hmm.
and I mean, yeah, it was just so crazy how and I was like, dude, I got to try this, and I did it, and I think what really made me struggle is the fact that the sugar addiction. I'm sure you can attest to that.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to lemonade. Like you give me fresh squeezed lemonade with in a cup of ice, it's over. And I think what was the struggle is that I was trying to get people on board to support me because I my mother she lives upstairs, but she like helps take care of me and like she shops for me and stuff like that. So I would be like, yeah, I'm done with sugar. I don't want to do any sugar. So I'd be like, let me just get some meat, eggs, and like butter. And I was like, let me get like a gallon of like lemonade. I would test her. She would get it, and like, and it's like she wouldn't say no. But now she'd say no. But back then she wouldn't say no, and it was a struggle. So like it was hard for me to like really give it up, but I noticed the benefits almost immediately, especially with dialysis and my blood sugar. So blood sugar stable all the time, and the dialysis I wasn't gaining so much fluid because my body's not so I'm not eating things that are so inflammatory, and so it was I just noticed the benefits. Like it was just incredible, but I was so addicted to carbs, and I had to really. And I think honestly what helped me was was binging the videos, but honestly you responding to me and really encouraging me. There was one night you encouraged me. I don't know if it was the Holy Spirit, I don't know what it was, but I said something, and like, or I was about to cheat, and you were like, "Hey man, you said something," and I literally emptied out my pantry and everything, and I said I gotta make a change because um I have a bunch of stuff going on. I'm legally blind. I'm on dialysis. I just got out of a wheelchair in like March. There was so much things going on, so I was like, I need to be extreme about this, and doing the 30 days has like really helped me. I've kind of like I've not been strict after that 30 days. I kind of like, but I've been, but I'm back on it, and actually my mother and I are gonna start priming because I just learned what that was.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so if yeah, and I mean, dude, it's been an incredible journey, and to get my mother on board was also like great too, because she grew up eating meat, but she met my dad, she became vegetarian, and I had to really like tell her, listen, this is like, that it's not a healthy diet. It's not a healthy diet. And I, I literally watched my dad take, like, I was holding my dad's hand when he took his last breath. So there's some trauma there. And so like, I don't, I want my mother to, live as long as she possibly can, and be as healthy as she can. So, so I'm like, we need to do this. And so, yeah. And she loves Ken Berry. She thinks he's hilarious.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. On that message, I think I remember which one it was, because you'd reached out to me at a really interesting time. There was a gentleman I had on my channel last year, and he was really big, and he was stuck in his house, type 2 diabetes, all sorts of issues. And he had started carnivore, and he lost a whole bunch of weight. He was doing incredible. And then I didn't really hear from him in a while. And right around the time you messaged me, I heard from his brother. And sadly, he lost a whole bunch of weight, had a bunch of progress. And he said, I'm going to go back to moderation. And that sugar that you and I have been talking about, that juice in particular, man, it's so addictive. It's so bad for you. So he went back to and tried to, he's like, I'm going to moderate this. And he just went on an all-out binge and sadly passed away. So I think I messaged you about that, because you kind of reminded me of him. And I remember when we were first talking on Facebook, you had mentioned, yeah, or maybe this was one of your earlier videos. Dave's got a YouTube channel. I'll have a link in the description. Everyone go check that out. But in one of your videos, you were talking about, yeah, I think I'm going to start, like, I'm just going to do steak and juice. I was like, that's awesome. And then I'm like, oh man, no, the juice is just so bad for you.
That's like, yeah, I'm gonna do yoga and crack cocaine. Like,
yes,
yeah.
That's what I was trying to think of a good analogy. Yours is better than mine, but it was like, your house is on fire, and Dave finally got the fire under control. It's almost completely out, and then you got a big can of gas. You're like,
yeah, it's it's the addiction, and I think, what's crazy is that I identified with that guy. My situation is, he was like morbidly obese, but I identified him. I even said, man, if you need another subject for your documentary, I was like, dude, I'm totally down, but I think I remember hearing you say that he passed away. That's really unfortunate, man.
Yeah, man, I was so shocked too, because he was doing so well. He was doing so well.
It's hard. It's very hard.
Yeah. It's a good lesson though, because there's a lot of people that do this and they say, well, I'll get down to my goal weight, or I'll do 180 days and then I'm going to go back to moderation. And the biggest thing I've learned doing this whole thing was you can't moderate an addiction, and sugar is the most addictive drug in the world. And when I used to do keto, I would try to moderate it. Oh, I'm going to have a little bit more, but then a little bit less. And I would yo-yo, and I'd end up binging, and I'd end up eating a whole bunch of food. And that's what that guy did. That's exactly what that guy did. He got down, lost a bunch of weight, said, I'm just going to moderate, do keto now. And he went on a big binge, and sadly, he's no longer with us. Just a complete shock to me, man. Was doing so good too.
And it's crazy too, because when I did the raw veganism, I did the it's called 80-10-10, and I mean, it's just pretty much just fruits, high fruit diet, and I was doing it, and people were like, aren't you diabetic? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, no, I'm fine, and not realize I was killing myself. And I think that's part of what led to a lot of the damage, with the vision and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But the diabetes, you said like age 13, you're diagnosed with diabetes. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? I'm still learning about this. And by the way, I want to invite you. When the heck is it? I'm doing a big diabetes live stream with Dr. Hampton, and Dr. Barry might jump on. And we're trying to share a whole bunch of stories of individuals that were diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. They did carnivore, proper human diet, and they're having some success. So I guess my question was, you're diagnosed with diabetes at 13. What did that look like for you? What type of medication were you on? And then how did that affect your vision or other symptoms sort of going forward?
Well, it's so because diabetes was, wasn't the I was diagnosed with type 2, which in 1995 was like unheard of for a kid to get type 2 diabetes, because that's like an adult thing. And
Right.
so they diagnosed me as type 1, and they put me on NPH and regular. Those are the first two medicines I was on. And I think what really was a real struggle for me was, my dad was really bad in terms of helping me cope with it, because it was like, 13, I'm like just developing into like a man. And so I want to be a tough guy, and he always made me seem like I was like weak,
Mm.
and so I ignored my diabetes. Like, I was like, it doesn't exist. But I was dealing with vision issues even before I was diagnosed, because I was pre-diabetic. And I mean, I I think what led to me getting I guess really what came to head was when I got suspended for peeing on outside on school, in this gym. Basically, when I was pre-diabetic, my kidneys were trying to flush out my system, so I was always thirsty, drinking so much. I mean, like, I was peeing in the bed at night. It was bad, and I had to pee like every 15 minutes, it seemed. And we had to be in the gym one time, and I would try to go to the bathroom, it was locked. So I went outside, found a corner, and peed there. Somebody caught me, and I got suspended. The only time I've ever been suspended from school.
Mm.
And then they took me to the doctor, and they said, yeah, I'm diabetic. And so it was it was very tough, because I had heard about it, diabetes, because I saw it in this movie, and I saw that this girl had to stick herself with needles. I was like, man, that would suck if you had to do that. And I'm in that, I was there, and it was. I will say that like the support was not there, because I'm trying to. I, I have this really bad disease and I'm among people who don't understand it. And anytime I had like a bad blood sugar, you know, I was berated, like why is your sugar so high? This that, and I'm just like, dude, I'm just so hungry. Like and looking back, we just didn't know anything about nutrition.
Mm.
It's like I'm eating the right things. Like like now I know the stuff I was eating is just insane. But back then I'd be like, okay, I can eat a potato and be fine, not knowing that that's literally a ball of sugar. I didn't understand what carbohydrates was, because
Yeah.
potato doesn't taste sweet to me. I'm like, this is, I'm not eating any sugar. I just had a veggie burger. Well, that's like made out of gluten, which is nothing but sugar. And so it was just really, really bad. But I think it got a little better in high school because I started playing sports. And so I guess I was kind of managing it then, but I would never check my blood sugar. So I went for a number of years, and I want to say that my blood sugar probably stayed in like 2, 3, 400 range, from probably ages from when I started diabetes till about like 27, 28. It probably stayed in that range, until I started feeling bad. The vision started acting up, and um, the doctor said, "Oh, it's the diabetes. You got to let your blood sugar like level out, and your vision should get back to normal." And it did. And I thought that I could just keep doing that. And the problem is that, and I'm not blaming the doctor. I guess it's just like doctors are so used to seeing people and saying the same thing over and over, they forget that certain details matter. And so I I I wish that some of these doctors would harper on how bad it could really get. Maybe they did. I don't know. I don't remember, but like I didn't think it would get this bad. It got bad. like bad. And uh, I know you didn't ask this, but the way I went blind,
Yeah.
um, I was undiagnosed bipolar depression, like all of that. And I did stand up comedy in Los Angeles for like 10 years. And there'd be times where I would just be in my room for like days, just watching TV and eating, and not realizing that was depression, and that's not me. And one day I was laying in my bed, uh, I was I was laying back on my bed, and I put my head over the side of the bed, and immediately it felt like something dropped inside of my eye. Like it felt like something was pushing on my eye, and it was like really dark in my eye, and I'm like, what? It's like, what's going on? I was like, well, I got to see an eye doctor, and I just happened to be going to home in West Palm Beach with my parents, and and I told my mom I need to see an eye doctor, and we went to like one of those like a lens crafters or something like that, and the guy looked in my eye and he said your retina is detached,
Mm.
and I didn't realize that how bad that was or what that meant. And so it was a slow ramp of like trauma that entire week with my eye. So I saw three retina specialists. The first, no, I saw one eye doctor and two retina specialists. The first eye doctor was the one I went to as a kid, and he said, "Yeah, you're going to need surgery eventually." I'm like, "Okay, cool." Then I went to a retina specialist, and he said, "You're going to need surgery eventually." I'm like, "Okay." And then I went to this guy, and he said, "You need surgery now." And I didn't understand that sometimes doctors sell you, and some doctors are very evil. So he sold me. He said, you need to get this, get this eye surgery, save your vision. And then he did a bunch of like lasers to zap to like I forgot the name of them, but basically to stop the bleeding in the eye. There was a lot of like, it was trauma, like just straight trauma. And I ended up going to surgery, and it what made it worse is that like I spent 2 years in LA with no car, and I was going to West Palm to get a car. So I just got a new car, and I'm like, don't tell me I can't drive my car. And it's like, well, you still got one eye. So, and yeah, because after surgery, like it was all black, and I've not been able to see since out of it since then. And it's been hell. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, um, and as a comedian, I have tough skin, and but it was tough, especially the jokes, because you know, everybody was making the jokes, and you're just like, hey, I just took it. I'm like, it's whatever. And but I think what because they were like making jokes on how to live as a blind person. I'm like, listen, I'm not blind. Like I wasn't legally blind at the time. I still had really good vision in this eye. And so it was so since then I'd been pretty much like a Nazi with my blood sugar, just making sure that it stayed, like, I mean, within a certain range, like not below 80, not above 180 or 170. Like, I mean, and I was struggling. I was always hungry, but my blood sugar was stable.
Mm.
I was like, that's important, and um, but also my kidneys. I have one kidney, and since I had my right kidney removed because of hydronephrosis, so I've had one kidney my entire life, and so my kidney was failing, and the doctors were saying, "Oh, uh, uh, you're gonna need to do dialysis," and I'm like, "Listen, I can't, man. Like I'm just starting to travel a road as a comedian. I can't give up my career for dialysis, and which is a stupid thing to say. Like, am I gonna rather die than do dialysis? And so I was looking for all other methods to keep me off of dialysis. And what happened, it was 2017, and my kidney was like shot. And what happens is that I was taking insulin, and since I was taking insulin and my kidney wasn't working, the insulin would stay in me way longer. So my blood sugars was always low. So it I didn't understand that. And basically it got to a point where I stopped taking insulin and I started eating anything. And this is how I lost this vision. I stopped using insulin. I stopped checking my blood sugar because I thought I was free from diabetes. Like, I'm like, oh, I no longer have diabetes. This is great. So I wasn't checking my blood sugar. I stopped taking my insulin. And it was, I don't know, I guess it was a form of delusion. So I went to Haiti, and like, I mean, and it's a culture, like, you're talking about rice. I'm half Haitian, by the way. That's so, like rice. I mean, just bread. I mean, all kinds of, no holds bar. And one night I'm in the hotel because with my cousin, and I start seeing the black spots. Uh, because my eye was bleeding inside. I'm like, oh my god, that trauma came back up. When that feeling you get in your chest, that
Yeah.
anxiety, and I ran to my parents' um, hotel room because I needed my mom to calm me down. Like, it was bad, and uh, it and I also had active Charcot foot at the same time. I don't know if you know what that is.
No.
Charcot foot is where so I did this movie a few years ago with Bryan Cranston called All the Way. It's on HBO, and they had me dress up as a civil rights activist, and I had to wear these really small shoes. I'm a size 13 triple E, and Charcot foot is where your body loses gets depleted of calcium, and your bones get really like soft. And so I had these shoes on, and I was essentially walking around on broken feet for for a while. And um this was I was also at the same I was in a lot of pain at the same time,
Mm.
in Haiti and everything. But it was just there was so much going on. Like, see, I almost forget some of the stuff that was happening. I had active Charcot foot like that.
Mm.
If you look it up, it gets pretty nasty. And so what is it? So I went back to LA, and I went and started seeing a doctor, and I had to get I ended up I had a cataract that I had to get done. I ended up getting 7 surgeries altogether in my eyes. They had to do like 2 vitrectomies here, which is where they drain the vitreous, which is that sac behind the retina, and they push the retina back in place. And I think the second time they did it, they call it a band or square buckle that they wrap around the eye to basically have it hold so the retina can hold up against it. And around this time too, like um, I'm naturally a loner. Like, I don't really keep a lot of people around me. That's I usually try to be self reliant and stuff. That's just the way I am. And and so I couldn't be like that anymore. So I had to like start relying on people, and people were luckily they were there to help me. But this was such a new experience for me that like I ended up messing up relationships, like friendships. People that I got cut off. It was really bad. I don't know how I got into that, um, but the vision really messed me up. I think because I was trying so hard to take the world on my shoulders. I'm like, yo, I'm tough enough. I can handle this. I don't need anybody. Like, I'm good. And and I was just so angry because I needed somebody. Like I mean, it was bad. Like, I needed somebody, um, and I think what really got messed up is that people thought that I was taking advantage of them. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. this is terrifying for me. I've never experienced this before. And I know that I'm not the same person you knew. Like this is not, like I'm trying to keep my composure. I'm trying to be like cool, but this is all new for me. I this is so new for me. And I think I lost like 70 pounds or something like that. I mean, it was crazy. And it was just trying to have this lone wolf mentality when I couldn't be that anymore. And I mean, I was so upset with God. I'm like, God, well, you allow this? And when you start getting like that in your head. And so, I mean, it was really bad. And the pandemic made it worse
Hmm.
because you got people trying to give me medical advice. And by this time, and I'm not trying to be like cocky, but I know a lot of like, I feel like I'm a doctor with some of the stuff I know based on what I've been through.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, I I I mean, you can edit this out if you want, but I feel the vaccine was a complete scam. Like 1,000,000%. This is coming from somebody who's been in the system. I was like, you have a vaccine for this virus, but yet you still looking for the cure for AIDS? Like this is bullshit. I'm not doing this. And and I have a lot of friends and a lot of friends who are like liberal. So um and uh liberals love trying to tell you what to do. And that's one thing that doesn't vibe with me. I was like, you don't tell me how to think. You don't tell me like like we can think differently but still be cool. But that's not the way these friends were. I didn't mean to make it a political thing, but
No, it's all right.
it, it was pretty much what happened. Like it. I I I think I started seeing where I stood politically uh, because of that situation. Because I had friends that would cut me off because I wouldn't take the vaccine, and I'm
Hmm.
like, listen, there are people that physically can't take it because their doctors are like, listen, your blood platelet levels aren't right. You can't take this vaccine. Like there's a bunch of reasons. A lot of people can't take it, and I mean, and my mom took it to keep her job, which killed me. I'm like, oh my god, like what? And I mean, it really. So yeah, and that was 2020. And in August 20, I moved out. I moved away from LA. I was like, I can't live. I have to move with my parents because like it's getting bad. Like I it's getting bad. I can't. Yeah, I can't do stuff. It's hard for me to. I can't can't act in movies. I can't do stand up like because I don't know how to function living like this. So I had to move back with my parents, which was a blessing.
Yeah.
And yeah,
On,
and no. Mhm.
on
Sorry.
the vision, on the other eye, like when the other eye started going bad, did they diagnose you like legally blind or?
Yeah, and they did it in such a, I don't even know how to say it, but it was so matter of fact, you know, which so like it was after my last surgery. I get there and I'm like, I go to post surgery and I'm like, hey, um, so when should I start seeing things a little better? This, that, and the other. And I'm trying to say this without cussing, but it's very upsetting. The nurse, it was like one of the receptionists. She came to me and she can't handed me a folder. She's like, "Oh yeah, here's some information on the Braille Institute." I'm like,
Hmm.
what the, what do you, That's how they told me.
Wow.
She said, "Here's some information on the Braille," and so yeah, it was insane. I was like, this. It's like this is crazy. I was like, this is so crazy,
Hmm.
and um, because like LA, the health system out there is like a cattle call because you're talking about there are like so many and I don't want to sound like there are a lot of illegals there with like healthcare, and you go there and it's a cattle call. Like I don't know how else to describe it. You know, like it like yeah, like I give an example. So let's say if for the eye doctor, if I go there for the eye doctor and I have an 8:30 appointment, 8:30 a.m., I get there and I won't be seen until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've had to do this several times, like few times, like maybe like 2 or 3 times with friends, but most of the time it's been by myself. So just kind of like, because I don't want to put anybody else through that. I'm like, this is my shit. Let me just do that, and like it's whatever. But yeah, and I think one dude didn't believe me, and he sat with me, and he was like, "Dude, how do you do it?" I was like, "Dude," I was like, I want to see, like if I need my vision. If I can't just leave and just bump into stuff on my way, I want to save my vision. I will do anything to save my vision. So I'll sit in a lobby for 8 hours to wait and see a doctor, just so he can do something that is very uncomfortable. And since then I've been getting this thing called an Avastin. And every 3 months, they literally shoot a needle in your eye with some stuff, and you never get used to it. It's jarring every time it's done.
Hmm.
And so it's pretty intense. So and um this is like a really bad joke, but it's not really a joke, but like um in high school I wanted to be a Navy SEAL, and they wouldn't accept me because of the one kidney, but I wanted a Navy SEAL experience, and I feel that this is it.
Hmm.
Absolutely. It's been hell years, not week, but hell years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jeez.
because I have friends of mine that tell me that they would have committed suicide had they gone through what I've gone through,
Hmm.
which is not something you should say to anybody, but yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah,
What's
so that's what happened.
what's
That's
the
what it.
what's the vision like now? Like you say, legally blind, but you could still see some.
Yeah, so right now, I think it's 20 2250. Like it's 20/20, and the higher the number they go, the worse the vision is.
Yeah.
And so it's there, but like I'm supposed to be walking with a cane, the little blind stick thing. I
Hmm.
refuse to use it. I'm so focused on when I get into an area, I'm like it's like I'm RoboCop. Like I'm so focused on everything. I'm very aware of my surroundings,
Hmm.
that I don't bump into anything, and because I've had many accidents, so I try to, and 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 I noticed, and it took a while for me to stop walking like a blind person too, because there's a walk that comes with it. I don't know if you're aware of that. Like,
No.
yeah, there's a walk. You don't. It's kind of, I guess it's kind of like subconscious for people. When you first become blind, you're just kind of like, okay, like you doing like a little like shuffle.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, I got to stop doing that. I can't act like I got to really change my thinking and really just fight through this. And so I've been better with it.
Hmm.
I got my swag back. I got a cool walk, man. So, so
Nice.
I got it back, yeah, because it was a struggle. Like I'd be uh like I'd be walking with like because a lot of girls would help me, and but I would look so helpless and stuff, and which I kind of was, but I didn't want to look helpless. I want
Yeah.
and so yeah, it was but the vision now it's better. I watch movies. um I'm writing screenplays, and I think what really helped me, I just got the Apple pencil, and so I'm using that to do more writing and stuff, which when you're writing on digital stuff, it's a lot easier. So there are tools that I use. Sometimes I'll have Siri read my text messages and things like that. I mean, even like when we've like communicated on like if you send me like a long message, I'll copy and like uh have it read to me, because
Uh,
it gets too exhausting to read it.
your story's
Um,
great, man. I'm glad you're sharing it.
Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me share, man. I appreciate it.
All right, so here's a question I have, Dave. So I interviewed a couple. They're called the Sightless Carnivores, Amy and Shane. Quick interruption. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in learning more about our documentary, Healing Humanity, The Power of a Proper Human Diet, or supporting it, please visit donate.healinghumanity.movie. Our goal is to reach millions of people that are hopeless right now and sharing the examples of real people over the course of 1 year that are undertaking a proper human diet to overcome obesity, type 2 diabetes, depression, anxiety, fertility issues. We couldn't do it without you. We thank you so much. We are also selling these shirts, Healing Humanity, The Power of a Proper Human Diet. Every penny we get from those goes towards the documentary. And last, we have memberships. If you click the little join button, it's best to do it on desktop. Under any one of my YouTube videos, you can join and become a member. We have hundreds of members right now. We do members only videos. We do members only behind the scenes. You can email me as a member and I'll answer you. And every penny from that goes to support the documentary. And the last thing is we have these Redmonds portable salt shakers. These things are awesome. You can get the best salt. You can take it with you. We sell these on the website along with our water bottles and cutting boards, and every penny from all of those goes 100% towards supporting the documentary. You can also sign up for our newsletter, which is completely free. All of these links are in the description below. Thank you so much for your support. Now back to today's video.
I've been blind since birth. I weighed in at birth, weighed in at 1 pound and 15 ounces. Yeah, Amy lost her eyesight because of the type 2 diabetes.
Amy got it from type 2 diabetes. And she told me when I interviewed her, she said, basically, the foods I was eating led to the diabetes, was the root cause of me becoming blind. Do you think that's the same with you? Like when you say detached retina, like is that from the diabetes? Is that like root cause of the food, inflammation, or like how does that work?
Basically, the retinopathy is essentially just bleeding in the eye, and what happens is, the sugar attacks the eye. I mean, a retina specialist can explain it better, but basically, it's like the little crystals that attack the eye, and what happens for some reason when you get these high blood sugars, the vitreous, which is literally that sac behind the eye, it's what holds the retina. It starts detaching, and that's when the retina starts to collapse. And when that happens, that's when you start seeing like the black spots, the flashing lights, and once that happens, it's like there's no coming back from that.
And the kidneys, is that related to the diabetes or the diet, or was that just something you're born with?
Well, I was born, like I said, I had hydronephrosis, and I think genetically there was kidney. I had spina bifida, and because my dad, Vietnam vet, hit with the Agent Orange thing, and so, when I was born, I had spina bifida, and so I had they had to remove a kidney when I was a month old, and the diabetes just basically made the kidney worse. It was all sugar. I mean, all sugar, and I mean. I will argue with anybody. Sugar is the reason for heart attacks, for high blood pressure, for everything you can think of that is caused by diet is because of sugar.
Depression, anxiety too.
Depression, anxiety. I will fall on my sword, dude. Like I was diagnosed bipolar depression, all of that nonsense, and I don't mean to call it nonsense, but like, okay, I'll qualify what I'm trying to say. So, the health industry is an industry that's there to make money off of sick people. So to keep them sick, they love to diagnose people and put them on medications. I'm sure you know that. You've probably said that before. So when I call it nonsense, it's nonsense. Instead of trying, and I think the problem is that with medical schools, they're taught how to practice medicine, not how to basically heal somebody and how to basically, get to the root cause.
Yes.
And they're taught medicine because You had John D. Rockefeller who basically discovered petroleum, and you, all of that. You know all of it, what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
and and then you have people who are so brainwashed with allopathy that they make fun of naturopaths. They're like, "Oh, you're a naturopath." I'm like, "Yeah, but now you're going to start seeing a lot of your patients go to this naturopath because you're putting them on all kinds of bullshit drugs."
Yeah.
It's insane. Like yeah. But yeah, so I've been off of my psych meds for a while. I was taking like Prozac, Lamotrigine, Wellbutrin, and there was a time in high school I was on Adderall, and
Mm.
I had some stories about Adderall, man. That's a crazy thing. But I mean, it was just yeah, and I feel that I feel that there is like a plot to keep people sick, and so many yeah, and there's a plot to keep people sick, and it's a problem,
Yeah.
and 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 I've been trying to fight, I guess, the system the best way I could. Like when I was vegan, I thought I was doing the best diet for me, and I was sincere. I'm like, yeah, I was plant based. I wasn't vegan. I still like, I'm a sneakerhead, so I'm gonna wear Jordans, and stuff like that. But like I was plant based, and so and also because like religiously, I thought you know I thought it would be a sin to eat like meat and stuff like that. I thought I was going to go to hell, and it's not something that was taught but implied.
Right.
And are you familiar with the seven? Well, yeah, you spoken to Dr. Anthony. I think he mentions
Yeah.
the yeah. So you mind if I tell you a little bit about that?
No, please do.
Okay, so I grew up Seventh Day Adventist. Lovely church, lovely people. I mean, I went to the schools and all of that, and the diet aspect was something that was like really hardcore, because this was a woman who had a third grade education, but if you see her writing, you wouldn't think she was in a third grade. It was just like I mean, prolific writing, and she wrote this book called Counsels on Diets and Food, where she talked about like the consumption of meat will lead to like passions of like lust, and you want to and then it's hard for you to connect spiritually with God when you're eating meat and this, that, and the other. And the whole time I wasn't thinking about how the Bible says that we can eat certain meats, like and the Jews ate meat when they sacrificed the animals. They didn't just throw it away; they ate meat. They ate the meat, and so it never occurred to me, And so I'm like, I'm eating the best diet for me, and the one meat that there are some Adventists that do eat meat, but the one meat that to stay away from is pork. It's something we just don't eat at all. Like even now, I really don't eat pork. Like I'll every once in a while I eat it, and I can't even tell you the amount of guilt that I feel when I eat it. But I just I just try to avoid it altogether. So if I do bacon, it's either turkey or beef. But yeah, so like there was just a lot of like guilt with food, especially because my father he was literally like like a food Nazi, like especially um when I became diabetic, it was just even worse because he was addicted to sugar, so he would like be eating like little Debbie's in front of me and be like, yeah, you better not be eating this stuff, like do what I say, not what I do, type thing.
Yeah.
And here's the crazy thing: Little Debbie's, the snack cake company, that's a Seventh Day Adventist company.
Mm.
Did you know that?
I did not. No.
So I went to an Adventist academy, and Debbie McKee, the girl who's on the poster of it, she literally went to that school I went to in the 70s.
Mm.
And the college I went to, that's where the Little Debbie factory is. And it was always weird to me. Like I'm like what is this? Like, why is like we're supposed to be so healthy, but yet they got this here?
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, frosted flakes, combos, little combo snacks that I
Yeah.
think they sold it, but that was I think that was made by an Adventist guy too. But it's just like this is crazy,
Hmm.
and I've always been like protective of my religious beliefs growing up. So like the first time I heard Dr. Anthony mention it, I was like, man, this guy's a charlatan, man. He don't know what he's talking about. But I'm like, but the evidence is there. Like I'm eating what he recommends and I'm feeling better. My blood sugar is the best that it's ever been. Are you familiar with like numbers, like good numbers and
Yeah,
stuff
you know,
like
I was
that?
going to ask you, like, you've been doing
So
carnivore now.
so I'm
Can you
on
give us like, some of your
this is my
results?
CGM. And it's 130, which like it never goes above 160.
Right. So sorry, it cut
Hello?
off there for a second, Dave. Could you say
Sorry.
again, like you've been doing carnivore for a while. What are you seeing with your
Dude,
diabetes, blood
my
numbers,
blood
depression,
sugar.
anxiety, anything like that?
So my blood sugar right there, like 130, right? That's to me is phenomenal. I just I ate something just like not too long before we started talking, and to be able to eat it, and not have this is no insulin to eat without and be satiated and not worry about having a blood sugar spike or taking a nap because my blood sugar went through the roof is so liberating. So, the blood pressure has been phenomenal. I go to dialysis, my blood pressure well, it goes up because of my body holds fluid because of the dialysis. So it'll get to like 150 over like 90. And then it'll go down after dialysis, it's like 120 over 79 or something like that. And I mean, the blood pressure is great. No blood pressure medicine at all. I've been on so many different blood pressure medicines. I've been on Trilipix, which I think is a statin for the high cholesterol. I mean, I try to take at least as many uh, uh, pills or medicine as possible. Now I take insulin like every once in a while, and then and I take my binders, which is something I got to take when I eat and stuff. But I mean, the mental health has been phenomenal. I like um this is what sold my mother on the diet. This is when she said she won't bend on buying anything sweet for me now, which I think is great. I ended up relapsing, and I think I started eating like all kinds of stuff, like rice, noodles, sandwich. I mean, all kinds of stuff. If have you heard of Public supermarkets?
Yes.
They make the best subs, okay? And these things are incredible. So I was eating like subs and it was just all kinds of stuff. And one night I'm here in my room and I'm talking to my mother and I was just letting out. I was so depressed. I had like a really bad like depression like attack or whatever. Like I'm like, why is all this stuff happening to me? Like everything that was going on, I was just like, this is not fair. Like, I was like, like I don't have a girlfriend. Um, and I'm just I'm all kinds of negative stuff, and it's so crazy to me because, um, you ever, um, do, I guess, were you diagnosed with bipolar as well?
Not bipolar, but depression, anxiety.
Okay. So sometimes I have like mania episodes, and literally it's like that's why they call it, I guess, bipolar. So like when I'm in a manic episode, it's hard for me to understand that I was ever in a depressive mode. Like I'm like delusionally powerful. It doesn't make any sense. So like you get so disconnected from that. But when I was there, And it was crazy because my mom sat there and she looked so sad. And she told me later on she went upstairs and cried because, because like the whole time that all this is going on, I'd never like vented like that to her. It was like, yeah, I'd been pretty cool, but I just let it out. And I told her, I was like, it's the carbs. It's the sugar. It's the carbs. That's what's making me act like this. Because when I'm on those carbs, that's when I need the Wellbutrin, the Prozac, and all the other stuff. That's when I need the Adderall for focusing. Now my focusing is fine. My mental health is fine. I don't get it's not suicidal thoughts, but it's like, what if I committed suicide? Like really contemplating and getting sad on those thoughts. Is that ideation? Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, and I mean, yeah, it like it was because I would think about like trauma that happened to me because I was sexually abused as a kid. So I also have that, what do you call that, PTSD,
Yeah.
so it would just all just, but now I mean, like when I look at it, I'm like, man, I think God will let people go through things to because there's a blessing at the end. And I feel that it's it's basically done wonders for my creativity. Like when like I'm working on 8 screenplays, people some people only can only write one their whole life. I have 8, and it's just there's just creative flow. I don't know. I don't know if that's the reason, but like, yeah, I'm thankful for the gifts that I have, and I think the experience that I had helped me be very sensitive and very attuned emotionally to people, and so yeah, eating, doing carnivore is, oh my goodness, it's been amazing. I actually, do you know Carnivore Ray?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had dinner with him in Nashville a few weeks ago because I had to go there for a kidney transplant evaluation. And I said, hey man, I reached out to him. I didn't know him. I just followed him on Instagram, and I was kind of like with you. I just said, hey, you want to meet up for steak, and we treated into a steak dinner. And I mean, one of the most amazing dudes ever, man. The guy's great. And yeah. Uh,
That's really cool. Yeah. I'm a big fan of his too. I've watched a bunch of his videos.
yeah. And I've actually, it's gotten to the point where I'm actually, when I start the priming thing, I'm actually going to like just start posting on YouTube. I'm just going to do YouTube videos. I'm going to make it a carnivore channel. That's what I'm going to do.
Nice.
Because like I do other stuff, but I was like, dude, this saved my life, and I'm behind this 1,000,000%, and the community is great, and what I love about the community is like, and this is one thing I had to learn, was to not judge people that don't eat like this. And I know that there are people in the community that are like that, but I know that it's not something that's within the culture, which I think is great. I was like, eat what you want, but I know I'm going to eat this. And I think that's the way everybody should be. I think everybody should do it, but eat what you want. If you really want health, this is where to go. But I know people are addicted to their foods.
What are
So
your plans, Dave, going forward? Do you feel like you're going to be carnivore for the rest of your life? Is it kind of a matter of life or death for you doing this?
it is so, and that's something that I think about all the time, because it's to the point where like I want to get married, but I legit want to marry a girl who's carnivore. like that's kind of, like, because my life is at stake, and I did see something, and I don't know if this is, because I do think that everybody has different needs, health wise. But this guy said he did but also there's a lot of stuff out there that's done. That there's a lot of uh, bull that's set out there with confidence. So this guy said he did the carnivore diet for 2 years and noticed that like his electrolytes were kept dropping, and no matter what he did, his body couldn't hold on to electrolytes. So he had to eventually add in some fruit and honey, and immediately that sounded appetizing to me. And I'm like, dude, I was like, dude, I gotta look at that. It may not be bullshit, but I was like, this is, to me, it has to be bullshit. I was like, I can't because I can't have a way to fall back.
Yeah.
Like, cause I know I get a sip of that lemonade, I eat that bread, it's over. And I don't need that. And I don't need the vision thing going. I don't need any of that. So I want to go 100. Like, I want to go for the rest of my life doing this. And right now I'm actually part of Ray's 30-day challenge carnivore group.
Nice.
He added me in there and stuff. So
that's so cool.
Really,
I was going to say, are you in any groups? Because that's been a big help for so many people, having the community and people to talk to, especially someone like Ray that knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, it's because I tried joining. Is it Stella that has a group?
Bella Steak and Butter Gang, SBG.
Yeah. I wanted to join that, but like I'm on disability, so I don't have like regular income. So, but like anytime I can't afford it, I'll do it like a month, and then when I can't, so I think I might have done it 1 month or whatever. But I'm gonna get to a point where I could do it regularly, because I feel that would be super helpful. And I even made carnivore shirts like that that I try to sell and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, they're like little silly, jokes and stuff like that. But yeah, so yeah, I think, and I'm on a Facebook group called Carnivore RX, and yeah, and I think now I'm gonna especially now, like I feel really encouraged to really go about the doing the carnivore thing on my YouTube channel, man, because I wasn't sure, and I'm like, you know what, man, this has helped me out so much, and yeah, so that's to answer your question.
That's cool. You're going to do it on YouTube. Let me know when you start doing it, man. I'm happy to shout you out. One of the most amazing things is once you start doing that, you're going to inspire some people. They'll be like, Dave, I saw you doing it. I saw it work for you, and now I tried it. And man, there's nothing more rewarding in the world when you hear that someone loses a bunch of weight, or even if they just overcome that depression. You know how that feels with that depression. A lot of people doesn't know how that feels.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I get emails like that every now and then. And it keeps me going for sure. That's the whole reason I'm doing this documentary is depression, anxiety. So many people overcoming that just by root cause. You said the word earlier, fixing the root cause of the issue. I think I totally agree with you there. That's the biggest problem in the world right now. No one addresses the root cause.
And what's funny is that's kind of like the pathology that is done within Adventist medicine, is they try to find a root cause. And I'm not saying like that they all, I just feel that the education is misguided. And somebody made a really good point. They said that a lot of the studies are done where they'll say something is something based on correlation, and correlation is not always causation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh wow, like this guy said, blaming cholesterol for a heart attack is like blaming a firefighter, for a fire. And I'm like, wow. I was like, yeah, because our body makes cholesterol. It doesn't make sugar. It turns fat into glucose to use for energy, but it doesn't make sugar. And so I'm like, this is, yeah.
Everything's so backwards. Like you were saying earlier, you ate that steak and you felt like a young man again, woke up in the morning. That's all.
Yeah.
I believe we're deficient in cholesterol. I believe I was for sure because it was
Yeah.
demonized my whole life. Don't eat meat. When I started getting fat and my cholesterol went up, I had the same thing. My testosterone went up. I'm like, man, I feel like a man now. And then the sleep got better. The immune system got stronger. I really believe most of the world's walking around right now deficient in cholesterol. We got all that backwards. Dave, do you feel like you got a second chance at life with carnivore?
Man, I felt, yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm actually in the process of literally, I hope within the next year I'm directing my first feature film. Like I'm back in the film industry. So yes, absolutely. I and nothing is going to hold me back from what I want to do.